Alright guys, let's talk about some of the best Samsung smartphones that you can currently pick up right now in 2021. So I want to start off with the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE 5G. So this phone ranges from around 500 to 600 bucks, and I'll have all those links down below depending on which model you get. But I think this is the best phone for a majority of people, and this phone is still extremely good for what you're getting. So Samsung made some sort of cutbacks with this phone's design, really just adding a plastic back on here. And it definitely still works out. It's a matte back, so it's not a glossy back, so I really like that. And it's aluminum frame, so it still has that premium feel when you hold it in the hand. It's also IP68 dust and water resistant. Now that's pretty much, they didn't really cut corners with this phone too much. So you have a 6.5-inch Super AMOLED display, 120 Hz HDR10 plus, 1080p 407 for the PPI. It's got the little punch hole in the middle. It's a beautiful display, super vibrant, very detailed. I love the colors on here, and it's a very bright display as well. Respectable bezels on here too. It's completely flat display. So overall, it's just a super smooth, silky display experience, which is something that I really love. Now, this phone does have Android 11 with the latest version of One UI. You also have the Snapdragon 865, which is a big factor with this phone because it's extremely fast. It's blazing fast. You're getting flagship quality, speed, and gaming performance on this phone as well with the Adreno 650 GPU. Now this phone also has micro SD support and 128 gigs of internal storage and 6 gigs of RAM. You also have stereo speakers on this guy, which are extremely loud, have good bass quality, good mids and highs. NFC is on board. Your Samsung desktop support experience is on board. Reverse wireless charging is on board. The in-display fingerprint sensor is on board that works very fast as well. So I really like the S20 FE. I think it's like the phone that I would recommend to most people who are looking for a Samsung device or just a flagship device. The S20 FE has amazing camera setup. You have a triple camera setup at 12 megapixel lens, and then you have a 8 megapixel telephoto lens with a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots 4K video on the front and back with a 32 megapixel selfie camera. As you can see from the images, you're getting some excellent images on the S20 FE, very flagship like quality photos here. You do have great color, very punchy, classic Samsung image processing, along with very detailed shots. You also have that telephoto, so you get a nice depth of field shots on here, good zoom on here as well, 3x optical zoom, and the ultra wide takes great photos as well. The selfie camera is great, so I had zero complaints with this camera on here. This is an excellent camera. I think anyone would be satisfied with this guy. So you do have a 4,500 milliamp battery with 25 watt fast charging and wireless charging as well at 15 watts. So battery life on here lasted me all day. Again, I'm not in a 5G area, so it will vary, but it's definitely an all day phone for me. Next is the Samsung Galaxy S21 5G. So you can pick this guy up for 800 bucks. This is for people that want the more flagship experience, but you don't want to spend that $1,000 or $1,000 plus like you're going to see with these next couple of phones. So this phone is awesome because it does cut corners a little bit. It has a plastic back, so not super premium design like the FE, but it feels really solid in the hand. It does have the aluminum frame to give you that sort of premium feel. And now it is IP68 dust and water resistant. This phone has a beautiful dynamic AMOLED 2x display, 120 Hz HDR10 plus. It gets very bright at 1300 nits as well. It's kind of, I guess these days, a little bit more on the compact side at 6.2 inches, 1080p 421 for the PPI. Overall, same story. Samsung makes beautiful displays on their flagship devices, so you're getting great color, very bright display, the punch hole, it's a flat screen, very smooth, 120 Hz on here, just a beautiful display overall. So again, Android 11 with the One UI, with the Snapdragon 888 and Adreno 660. So if you want the most power that Samsung can offer these days, then you would get this phone, for under $1,000 It's a beast when it comes to performance, multitasking, gaming. It's gonna blow through everything with no lag, no stutters. Now, this phone does not have any micro SD card support, but you get 128 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM on this guy. Very loud sounding stereo speakers, good bass quality, good mids and highs. No headphone jack, of course, but NFC is on here, and all your little flagship stuff, Samsung desktop experience, reverse wireless charging, that's all on here. This phone has amazing cameras as well. Triple camera setup, 12 megapixel standard, 64 megapixel telephoto lens on here, 3x optical zoom, and you also have a 12 megapixel ultra wide. You actually get 8K video, so very high resolution video recording, along with a 10 megapixel selfie camera that shoots in 4K as well. As you can see from the photos, this phone takes beautiful photos, some of the best that you can get right now. So if you're looking for just an excellent camera phone, great color, depth of field, great ultra wide, great image processing, then this phone is going to be definitely a great pickup for you. I really enjoy taking video on here. The selfie camera is great, so I really like the cameras on the S21. So this phone does have, of course, NFC. You do have a 4,000 milliamp battery with 25 watt fast charging. So the battery life on here lasted me around 7 hours of screen on time. And again, this is not on 5G. You'll get different results if you're on 5G. This is an excellent pickup if you want the latest from Samsung, but you don't want to pay that $1,000. All right, let's talk about the big boy, the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra. This is overall the best and most powerful phone on this list, but it's going to cost you $1,200. Again, links down below. So if you just want the best from Samsung, you want the latest and greatest of what flagships have to offer these days, this is a phone that you will consider. This is definitely a top 3 smartphone currently out right now. So this phone has a beast of a design, beautiful bold design on here, aluminum frame, glass back on here, IP68 dust and water resistant, really big camera module setup. It's just a very bold design. I really love this design on the Ultra. Now you have a beautiful display, dynamic AMOLED display, 120 Hz, HDR10 plus. This display is actually 1440p, so it's super crisp and clear at 6.8 inches. So it's a big phone, 515 for the PPI. So this is one of the best displays that Samsung has to offer currently right now on their flagships. So you do have Android 11, of course, the Snapdragon 888, Adreno 660. You already know it's going to be a beast when it comes to just multitasking, gaming, anything. This phone will be able to handle it, no problem. There's no micro SD support on here. 128 gigs of storage and 12 gigs of RAM. That's more RAM than I have in my computer. Absolutely crazy. So if you're going crazy with multitasking, this phone is going to be an overkill. You do have very loud sounding stereo speakers on here, no headphone jack, of course. NFC is on board, your fingerprint scanner under the display, very fast, and then you get all your bells and whistles, Samsung desktop support, NFC, the whole thing, IP rating. It has all of that, reverse wireless charging, everything that you could really want. So the main thing with this phone is the camera quality. You're getting the best of the best here. Quad camera setup, 108 megapixels, crazy detail with this camera. You also get a 10 megapixel periscope telephoto and telephoto lens on top of a 12 megapixel ultra wide lens, shoots in 4K in a 40 megapixel selfie camera that also shoots in 4K. You know what you're getting when you pay top tier dollar. You're getting the best of the best when it comes to image quality with this phone. The Samsung camera application also is just extremely versatile. You have a lot of features in there as well. So this phone has pretty good battery life from what I've seen. 5,000 milliamp battery, 25 watt fast charging. Again, you have wireless charging on board. So this is the best of the best from Samsung. Next, I want to talk about a mid-ranger, the Samsung Galaxy A52. So you might not want to spend all of that money. You might want to spend $300 on your smartphone. I 100% agree with that. I love great value for the price here, and the A52 does deliver that. So it's got to me a really nice design, even though it's an all plastic design. Just look at it, it looks really nice, very clean design. I love the camera module setup as well. You have IP67 dust and water resistant, which is crazy for a mid-ranger. You also have a very nice display, a Super AMOLED 120 Hz display, 800 nits, 6.5 inches, 1080p, 407 for the PPI. Has a little punch hole, flat display, respectable bezels, great color, fairly bright as well. Now depending on which model you get, if you get the 5G or the standard one, you'll get 90 or 120 hertz, and again that varies if you want to pay a little extra money, but the display is going to be very smooth regardless. So you will have Android 11 out the box with One UI. The Snapdragon 720G and Adreno 618 combo is fine. I had no problems bouncing in and out of applications, multitasking. I don't consider this to be a gaming phone per se. It can game like PUBG, Call of Duty fine, but of course you're not going to be getting those extreme frame rates and stuff like that. But you do have on here micro SD support, which is something that I love. 128 gigs of internal storage, 6 gigs of RAM. You also have stereo speakers along with the headphone jack, so that was a really great addition. Loud stereo speakers, and you get to keep the headphone jack on this guy. NFC is on board with the fingerprint scanner under the display. Had no issues with that. It's very fast. You can also use face unlock. This phone does not compromise when it comes to image quality. With the cameras, you have a quad camera setup, 64 megapixel standard, 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 5 megapixel macro and depth sensor with 4K video on the front and back, along with a 32 megapixel selfie. You can see from the shots, for me, for 300 bucks, I was super happy with this image quality. I thought colors looked really great, detail was there, dynamic range was pretty good. Overall, I was really happy with the ultra wide. The macro is fun to play with. The depth sensor gave me some good blurred shots. I was really happy. I don't think anybody buying this phone will be disappointed with the camera quality on here. So video is pretty solid on this guy as well. This phone does have a pretty nice sized battery at 4,500 milliamps with 25 watt fast charging. I was able to get through a full day of battery no problem, around 7 hours of screen on time for me, which is pretty good. So the A52 is great for anybody that's on a budget. At last is the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra 5G. You can find this phone for around $1,000 as well. And this is still an excellent phone, pretty much for anybody that wants a stylus. Now you do have stylus support with the Ultra, but this one has the built-in stylus support, so you can just sort of slide it in there. And to me, the design of the stylus and how it works, to me, is just a little bit more elegant. But this phone is just an awesome phone overall as well. It's got a stainless steel frame on here, glass back, IP68 dust and water resistant, beautiful dynamic AMOLED display, 120 Hz, HDR10 Plus. If you want a massive phone, this is definitely the phone at 6.9 inches. So this phone is huge. 1440p, 496 for the PPI as well. And it's just a beautiful display on here, as you can see. And you also have, of course, Android 11. You have the Snapdragon 865 chip on here. So whatever you're doing on this phone, multitasking, gaming, of course it's going to just blow through all of that. Micro SD support is on board. 128 gigs of internal storage, 12 gigs of RAM on here. You also have stereo speakers, of course, no headphone jack, of course, but NFC is on board. Your fingerprint scanner is under the glass. All of your bells and whistles, Samsung desktop support, your reverse wireless charging, all of that is on here. And also you're getting still excellent top tier cameras, 108 megapixel lens, 12 megapixel periscope telephoto with 50x hybrid zoom as well, which is pretty cool. You also have 8K video on here, 12 megapixel ultra wide, 1080p selfie camera that also shoots in 4K, and you're getting top tier cameras on here like you would expect for this price point. And battery life is pretty sufficient on here as well at 4,500 milliamps. You're getting 25 watt fast charging, so you can definitely easily squeeze a day out of this phone. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.